What's up, everyone? It's almost Star Wars celebration time, so like we've done before, we're just gonna run through our tips and tricks if you're a first-time con goer or if you're planning on enjoying CouchCon, just what you can expect either way. So we're just gonna have a casual chat about that, and I guess we should start by sharing our schedule and what we're planning on doing. We are going to have one panel this year. We're on Saturday at 3:30. And we're just going to be breaking down the news with Force Center. Our friends Ken and Joseph are going to join us up on stage. So at that point, I think the Lucasfilm showcase will have happened and Ahsoka.
Yeah. And that's going to be on the HoloNet news stage room, which I think there's 2 rooms for that.
We'll be in room 17. We'll put up our graphic that will definitely have all the right information, but I think we're in room 17. I don't know where that is, but we will be chatting from 3:30 to 4:30 or so, and then after that, we're going to just go ahead and have a fan meetup. So even if you don't make it into the stage, into the room, which I was shocked that we filled up the room last year. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
But if you can't make it in, we will immediately after go find somewhere to do a meetup. Last year we did it like right outside the room, and then they asked us to move because we were being a fire hazard.
We'll find a place, a big enough area to go to before we go on to our panel. So we'll be able to like announce at the panel where the meetup's going to be, and we'll be tweeting it. So you can always check our socials. Yeah.
Follow both of us on Twitter because we'll keep updates there. But yeah, we'll probably try to find someplace outside, assuming the weather is nice, and we'll all just hang out and chat for a while.
Yeah.
But that's really all that we have on the official schedule. There are a couple of other things we're going to be doing that you can find us at, but we'll get into that later. But also, just if you see us wandering around the show floor, like we try to be very approachable. Like we're there to celebrate Star Wars and meet people. So we've had people message us on Twitter or something and just be like, I saw you, but I didn't want to bother you. And it's like, no, we're kind of there to do exactly that. We want to make ourselves available.
Yeah. And the fact that we're not going to be nearly as busy this time around as we were at the last celebration, we'll probably be wandering around a bit more and just kind of cruising the show floor and checking stuff out. So we'll be around to chat with.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should start by talking about packing. Like before you go, what should you get ready for? We don't have any insight into what London is like at all because we've never been. This will be a first time for us. We are going to have some London tips later from a friend. But just for celebration packing specifically, like convention packing, what would you recommend someone bring?
Well, first of all, even though we're not familiar with London, I would say make sure to check the weather ahead of time, see how cold and how rainy it's going to be, because that sounds like what London is all about at this time of year. So just dress accordingly, bring lots of layers in case it is chilly. You can bundle up, or you can take off layers if it gets hot.
This will be interesting. It's like we've gone to Orlando where it was hot. We've gone to Chicago where it was snowing.
Very
and now
cold.
we're probably going to be somewhere in between.
Yeah. But so yeah, dress accordingly. Definitely bring comfortable shoes. Don't do like I'm doing and get a brand new pair of shoes right before the trip to try and try to break them in. Or make him get a new pair of shoes too.
I did the same thing, but they're already fine. They're already comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like comfy shoes is a must because you are going to walk way more than you think. And you're probably going to be like, okay, I just got out of this panel and now I have to go all the way across the convention hall to find another panel.
Yeah.
So yeah, just expect to be walking a lot. I guess along those same lines, bring a water bottle or something to help you stay hydrated. Like just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you will be tired.
Don't eat nothing but hot dogs and french fries, but even though that sounds amazing. Drink lots of water. You can try those like electrolyte packets too. Like those have become a lot more popular. So if you want to make sure that you're staying hydrated and full of electrolytes. You can try those out.
Especially if you have some pints in the evening.
Yeah, they're very helpful for people of a certain age that have one too many drinks and want to...
Doesn't even take much anymore.
And want to not be hungover the next day.
Yeah, I had one beer. I'd better have an electrolyte pack. Give me a Pedialyte. As for walking the showroom floor, you probably want some sort of tote bag or backpack that's empty at first, but you might start to fill it up with whatever exclusive merch is available, or you might come across a Biggs action figure you didn't know existed, and you gotta get that, obviously. So just have something to carry all of your new treasures in.
Backpack is always good because it will equally distribute the weight. Sometimes if you're carrying a tote bag for a long period of time on one shoulder, it'll make your neck hurt. But some places, if you purchase something on the showroom floor, they will give you a tote bag. So if you are planning on going straight to one place to buy something, see if they will give you a tote bag, and then you'll already have one.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point about the backpack. And just in general, I would say prioritize comfort over anything else. Molly was laughing because you brought a bunch of outfits to Anaheim and then wore just leggings and a t-shirt every day.
Leggings and a t-shirt.
And that's basically what I do. Jeans and a t-shirt and comfy shoes, and I'm good to go.
Now, if you're cosplaying, that's another story. And more,
of course,
more power to you. I hope your cosplay shoes are comfortable.
Cosplayers, we salute you. Good luck, Godspeed, and may the force be with you. Let's see, poster tube. That's one that we have forgotten multiple times in the past, but you are probably going to be just handed posters randomly, whether it's at a panel that you're coming out of. If they announce the Bad Batch Season 3, or Ahsoka is probably another good example. They're going to be like, hey, we have a poster, and everyone in this room gets one. And then you'll want to take it home, and then you won't know what to do with them. I think we have several poster tubes from previous celebrations, and they're just still full of posters, and we got to find something to do with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of just artwork, posters. If you get a picture taken with someone, they might give you those in a little plastic sleeve, but there's just a lot of flat pieces of paper involved in celebration. And if you want to keep all those, you want a good place to put them and keep them from getting folded or torn or whatever.
Yeah, and we have multiple times in the past been scrambling to try to find a poster tube. I'm sure there's a UPS or a FedEx or whatever the English version of that is.
Well, they sell them at a lot of conventions now because of the reasons that we're talking about, but they're insanely expensive.
Yeah, you can just go to the UPS store now, get a poster tube, and you'll be set. Also, just for packing, leave some space. Kind of like I said for the backpack, you're probably going to come back with more than you are going with. So leave a little extra space in your luggage. I'm actually thinking we're going to be better off going to London than we were to Anaheim, because for international flights, you get a free checked bag.
Yes.
So we each get one big bag and our carry-ons and our personal item. So I think when we went out to Anaheim, we just brought one checked bag, and it was interesting packing all that back up.
Well, we also went to Disney, and we each built droids there and had to take those back, and
we had too much.
We got a lot of stuff there.
We did.
Maybe this year we can just keep one of our bags completely empty.
We'll see. And a power bank. That was the last thing I had on my list. That just a power bank for your phone. You might be live tweeting a panel. You might be just reading live tweets. So you probably just want, and you'll be taking a lot of pictures. You're probably going to burn through your phone's battery. You don't want to go back to the hotel room. So just have a power bank ready to go.
Yeah.
You can keep on partying. Okay, let's move on and talk about panels. I think at this point, the lottery system is already closed for the major panels.
I believe so.
So really, there's no tip we can give about entering the lottery. Not that there are tips on getting chosen or anything. It's all fully luck. But I think my biggest piece of advice for panels is don't worry about it too much. As of recording this, at least, we don't know what panels we got into. I don't think anyone else will also not know. So if you don't get into one you really want to see, I promise it won't ruin your day.
Yeah. I mean, it might feel like it did because we had that experience in Orlando of waiting in line but still not getting into panels. That was before they did the lotteries. So it was a bummer for about an hour or two, and then we were like, you know what? Let's go back out there. Let's go see some smaller panels, or let's go spend a lot of money.
Yeah, like we were really upset when we didn't get into the 40th anniversary panel for Star Wars at Celebration 2017. It was like a complete mess, and we should have gotten in. We didn't. We went through the 5 stages of grief. We took a nap, and then we went back out on the floor, and we had a great time. So I just want you to know that like we had one of the worst panel experiences you could possibly have, and we still had a blast. That celebration was still amazing.
Yeah. Naps are also a good idea if you're planning on staying out late, getting up early, maybe schedule a nap or 2 in there.
And I think they actually do have a quiet room, or at least they have in some previous celebrations. So if they have space for it, there might be a place to go just like sit down, close your eyes, and relax for a little bit if you need it.
Yeah, and this just popped into my head too. Like sometimes walking around the showroom can be overstimulating for a lot of people because it's very noisy and there's a lot of people walking around. So if you have noise canceling headphones, maybe put those in. It might make the experience go a little bit smoother. But yeah, it's hard to tell at this point like how big of a convention this will be compared to the prior ones, because we've never been to London, we've never been to this Excel Center. So just be prepared for a lot of crowds of people and a lot of loud noises.
Yeah. For the panels, we also need to talk about streaming because that is completely up in the air. Last year, before we went to Anaheim, we told people like, you know, they stream everything. So you can watch it all from your hotel room or from home. And they did not do that at the 2021 celebration, 2022. Yeah. So be prepared for not being able to see anything. I still don't know why they made that decision. I hope they have reversed it for this celebration. They have said they're streaming some stuff, but that doesn't mean they're going to stream all the big panels. Mm-hmm. I hope that they do. I hope they stream it back to everyone not at the convention as well. So I know that puts a little extra pressure on to the lottery system and all that. But again, if you don't get into the panel that you want to get into, like, try not to let it ruin your day because there's still so much other fun to have. You're still going to hear all the news. Yeah, it's a bummer. I don't like that decision.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that that's not how this celebration goes. Mm-hmm. I think it should be streamed to everyone, but we'll see. There
are quite a few content creators too that are not going. They're planning on doing their own streams just to talk about the news. So if you follow a lot of people, check and see if they're doing something like that. I know Star Wars Thrifting is doing something like that with a podcast, and I think Pete from Across the Galaxy is doing one. So a lot of content creators that aren't able to go are going to be covering a lot of the news.
Yeah.
As will we.
Yeah, just more hectically and frantically and not in live stream.
We'll be live tweeting a lot, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything for panels. So let's talk about photo ops and autographs. People have a lot of questions for those. I don't know if that's been closed yet or not. I always say don't do a lot of those unless that is like why you are there. I would say only go see someone if you're like, this is my one chance.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people make it a point to do these at conventions.
Yeah. And that's if that's how you enjoy your time, go for it.
And they can be pretty pricey, especially with some of the people that are going to be there this year at Celebration. But yeah, you end up waiting in line for quite a long time. And if it's your first time, you don't want to clog up your schedule too much with just a bunch of line waiting to then spend 30 seconds or less with someone if it's a photo op. If it's an autograph session, you might get a little bit more time, but they move people through those lines real quick.
I think that's a great thing to bring up, is that the photo session is not at all like a meet and greet. It is you're in, you're out, in, snap, out.
And I don't know, because of COVID, if they're still doing the plexiglass.
I think
in
that's
between.
up to the performer.
Okay.
Whoever is there to have their picture taken.
Yeah. I would say still expect masks and glass separation with some people. I think it just depends.
I'm pretty sure Ewan McGregor did not have a divider last year, and I expect that'll be less common this year. But some people still might want it, so I think that's a good thing to just keep in mind. But yeah, I'm more about the time. Like Donald Faison, Sarah Michelle Gellar, we went to those photo ops because we were like, don't know if I'm ever gonna have the chance to meet this person that like means a lot to us otherwise. Mm-hmm. So we waited in the line, but it was a long wait. And I just don't like spending my time at cons in lines, but sometimes you gotta. Like, if there's someone going that you're like, I have to do this, then I do it. Autographs, you're right. You get a little extra time to just like speak while they're signing.
Yeah.
Donald Faison was incredibly nice. Garrick Hagon, we got to speak for a while, so that was awesome.
Yeah, he didn't have a line.
I think there were a few people, but like everyone was, it's like it's not a huge line. We can spend some time talking with this person.
Also, if you are going to have a backpack or a bag, keep a Sharpie in your bag and something small that you might like to have autographed by someone, because there is a high chance that you could run into someone is famous that you could just quickly say, hey, nice to meet you, can I get your autograph?
A lot of people will have their badges signed, for example.
Badge is a good one. Yeah, that's always a good
That's plan. A good one. I think that's everything for kind of at the convention. Did want to talk about after shows, after parties and stuff like that. There's usually stuff going on. We are going to be on Sunday night at Cantina 2, which looks like it's going to be a big party / concert / also, if there are some people you want to meet, like Garrick Hagon or Veers Watch, if you're watching, Julian Glover will be there. Like, there are going to be some Star Wars personalities there to sign things. And
yeah, they're going to have their own little mini con there, basically. They'll have all the guests who are doing signings on the website.
Yeah. So we'll put a link to that down in the description. It sounds great. I think that is Sunday starting at like 7 until midnight. So that's you can go in and out of that. It is a ticketed event. Mm-hmm. So there is that. A lot of the post-con things are ticketed.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up Bibs Bash by Star Wars Sessions. Friends of the show, they're holding that on Saturday night. It is ticketed. Also on Sunday night, Force Center is doing a stand-up show. That's Ken Knapsack and Joseph Scrimshaw. I know at one point it was sold out, but I think they said they were going to open up standing room. If you like those guys, and everyone should, they're the best, go support their stand-up. And then on Friday night, I wanted to point out that there is a queer meetup hosted by Chase.
Yeah, Chase, a.k.a. That Gay Jedi. Go check him out on Twitter and his YouTube channel for details on that.
So we'll put links down to all of those events if you're interested in any of those. But also, you can just chill at the hotel bar. Like, honestly, that's where a lot of people are just going to hang out. They're all going to be Star Wars fans. Mm-hmm. They're all going to be Star Wars fans that are there to celebrate Star Wars. So you can just go grab a drink, kick back, have a great conversation with some people. Like, we've had a lot of great nights just hanging out at the hotel bar.
We also met Jet Lucas that one time, which was awesome.
He was very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. There's all kinds of, you never know who you'll run into at a hotel bar or at a pub around the convention.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I have to imagine London has some amazing pubs just all over the city close by. So check those out too. We don't have any good recommendations for those yet, but
I think that's a perfect segue into our final segment. Was there anything else you wanted to throw out there for celebration tips and tricks from the Americans?
I don't think so, except to try not to build it up too much. Try to relax. If you're someone who meditates, you could take a break, go to the quiet room. Quiet womb?
Go to the quiet womb.
Take a sec to just kind of like center yourself, because it can be very hectic and it can also go by very quickly. So don't be afraid to ask for pictures, autographs, do whatever you want to do, but just have fun.
Yeah, just have fun, relax. If you can, it's going to be busy, but like you said, just don't overdo it. You're not going to be able to do everything, but everything that you can do is going to be fun. This is our 4th celebration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we've had a blast at every single one of them. They haven't all gone perfectly, but at the end of each one, we're sad that it's over. We just love getting to hang out with like-minded Star Wars fans. That's what it is. It's the same reason stuff like Dragon Con is awesome, because everyone there has your same interest. Like, they're just waiting to be new friends.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So now we're going to throw things over to our friend Jamie Stangroom, who is a host of the Geek End YouTube channel and will also be hosting the Star Wars show stage along with several other people. But he is going to be our British expert, and I don't even know what he is going to say because we haven't gotten his clip yet. And that's okay, Jamie, because we're just filming this early. But I'm sure it's great. Just kind of tips for getting around London, what to do while you're there. So we'll just throw it over to Jamie. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Jamie from the YouTube channel The Geek End, and also Star Wars Celebration live host. One of them anyway, for 2023 in London. I don't know how that happened, but it has. So hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you to Alex and Molly for having me on your channel. I'm not from London, and actually I'm in Mexico City at the moment. Not that tree gave that away or anything, but I have spent most of my adult life in London. And I'm kind of old now, so that's a lot of life. I know the city pretty well, although it's always rapidly changing, so some of my information might be out of date, because I've been out of town for a little while. But it's a big place. I think that's the first thing to say. The UK is a small country, but London is ridiculously big when you think about it. It's apparently twice the size of New York City, and it's kind of sprawling. There are hubs with skyscrapers, but I'd say it's more sprawling out in all directions, and New York City's like high, right? So, with that in mind, you've got to plan ahead with whatever you're doing, because the traffic ain't great. Now, Mexico City, I don't think has particularly good traffic. It's okay at the moment, but I saw on a news report here that recently it was revealed which city has the worst traffic in the world based on hours of drivers' time, life wasted sitting in traffic, and London came out at number 1. I was actually quite surprised by that. But yeah, the traffic's not great. But the public transport is actually really good. So I don't know where you're from, but if you're used to public transport, then maybe it'll be confusing at first anyway, because it's a new city, new country perhaps. But London's pretty easy to get around in terms of public transport, but things take a while. It's a big place. So always plan ahead. The tube, the underground, the metro is like the oldest system in the world. So it's really good, all things considered, but it can go wrong. And they're constantly modernizing it for obvious reasons. So yeah, plan ahead again. The Transport for London, TfL website, has a journey planner, and it will include the tube, which, by the way, generally, let's say Sunday to Thursday, it starts really early, so like 5:30, 6 in the morning. And usually by about half midnight, the final trains have left each station, but always check that in advance. However, on Fridays and Saturdays, you have the night tube, so it's 24 hours on a lot of the lines, not all. So that's really good because Ubers are very expensive in London. Night buses are 24 hours. The buses are more complicated to figure out, but they're always running. They're always running. So you'll know the Harry Potter night bus. Night buses are a thing, and they are like Mos Eisley on wheels, because at night, that's where you get the characters. That's where you get, yeah. It's okay though, generally, but always, like any big city in the world, always have your wits about you, common sense as well. So yeah, the point is here, always plan ahead. And another problem to throw into the mix in terms of celebration weekend, it's Easter. It's a long holiday weekend. And there will probably be engineering works, because that seems to be what they do. When there's holidays, I guess less people going in for work, they tend to do a lot of the engineering works then. So I would check ahead. The Excel's not in a great spot. It's quite far from anything interesting, to be honest. So always plan ahead. If you're staying away from the centre, obviously plan your journey to get to the centre ahead of time. But like if you're having a night out in London, you can't hop from one neighbourhood in, say, East London to another neighbourhood in, say, West London in one night. I mean, you could, but you're going to lose a lot of time, like an hour each way, because again, it's just a big place. So always plan ahead. That's my first thing. And another thing is, if you have the time, get out of Zone 1. And by that I don't mean the Excel Centre. That doesn't count. That's not Zone 1, but it doesn't count. Zone 1 is central London. So part of it's known as the West End. And it is where the majority of the tourist sites are. And actually, they're really accessible. You can walk between a lot of the sites, the landmarks. But it's not, in my opinion, not really real London. These aren't the places where Londoners tend to hang out by choice. Some do, most don't. It's where you work, it's where the tourists go, it's where you take friends or family visiting for the weekend, begrudgingly. But it's not real. For me, it's not real London. The beauty of London is it genuinely is the world in one city. It has to be, if not the most culturally diverse cities in the world, it's probably in the top 3. There's something like 300 languages spoken every day. And you really get that feel when you go into the real neighbourhoods. So get out of Zone 1. You don't have to go to like Zone 8 or 9 or 100, whatever it goes up to. But, Zone 2, Zone 3, you'll see some real neighbourhoods. In London, you get quite biased about your neighbourhood. So I've always lived in East London, various neighbourhoods in East London. So I'm quite biased. So I would suggest, as a kind of midpoint between a neighbourhood and being touristy, trying something like Shoreditch and Brick Lane, which are in East London, but kind of central East London. Now, Camden Town is, for tourists, seen as one of the kind of edgier things to do as a tourist in London, but it is super touristy. Shoreditch and Brick Lane, I remember when I first moved to London, long time ago, they were quite underground, quite grungy, and now they're pretty touristy. But they still have a bit of cool, and they're sort of surrounded by some other good neighbourhoods too, like Bethnal Green, Dalston, Hackney. There's some good nightlife. Brick Lane Market on a Sunday is great. It might be difficult if you're at Celebration, but you have a street market just full of amazing foods and just weird things going on, and people and performers, and it's a great street art area. There's a few really old Banksys nearby, near the Truman factory. Brick Lane Market on a Sunday. You can go there any day of the week, but the market's not on, but the street art will be there and a lot of vintage stores. One half of Brick Lane is actually full of Indian restaurants, supermarkets, Bangladeshi, and that brings me on to food. UK, I guess, is not particularly famous for its food, and I know you're going to have fish and chips. I won't judge you for that. But try not to have it in a West End pub, because they are really just, it's made for tourists. Fish and chips can be good. Actually, one of the kind of chains that there are around town is called Poppy's. That's pretty good, actually. But the point I'm trying to make is British food is not the best food in Britain. We're not very good at our own food, to be honest, but we're really good at international food. And you might know this already, but Indian food particularly it's probably the national food in the UK, and it's really good. It's really good. Some of the dishes you'll have in your country in an Indian restaurant actually came from the UK, from Indian chefs. The Balti, the chicken tikka masala, for example, they're really good. Indian food is really good. So half of Brick Lane has a lot of restaurants, Indian restaurants. They're okay. The fun of it is that there's lots of them, so at night it's quite lively and they're hustling to get you in with different offers, and you can take your own alcohol into a lot of them, but they're not the best. There's great Indian restaurants all around the UK, to be honest. If you stray a little bit further away from Brick Lane into Whitechapel, which is where Jack the Ripper did most of his work, allegedly. There is some more authentic kind of Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Indian restaurants. Some really authentic kind of old school ones, but also some sort of more modern, trendy ones. One I'd recommend is called Tayab's. I could send a link to Alex if he wants to add that somewhere or pop it up on screen. I don't know, Alex. It's up to you, really, to be honest. I'm not on commission. But yeah, international food is great in the UK. But I know you're going to have your fish and chips, which, you know, we drink coffee, by the way, as well. We don't just drink tea. So have your fish and chips once. Just try and do it somewhere that's not in a West End pub, because, yeah, it ain't great. But fish and chips can be good. It can be good. All right, what else? Nightlife. Nightlife is an interesting one. There are some great parties in London. It's a huge place. It caters for everybody, any kind of music you want. This is something else you really need to research in advance as well, because again, it's overwhelming. It's so big, and different clubs obviously have different nights on, different days of the week. But also a trap that youngsters fall into when they come to even just the UK for the first time. They assume that the pubs are the nightlife. They're actually the day life. Going to a pub is like being invited into somebody's lounge, you know, going to somebody's home. A lot of them open for breakfast, you know, and stay open all day and into the night. But by midnight, most pubs are closed. They're more day things, social things. You know, the music's in the background unless there's a live covers band on or something in certain pubs. Bars are the nightlife. They're the ones that will be open till 2, 3, 4, 5, and obviously the nightclubs will be up to 24 hours. If that's your thing, I'm obviously too old for that. So don't think pub life is your main nightlife. If you want a big night, plan ahead, but look into bars and clubs. Again, I'm biased, so neighbourhoods. Shoreditch is very easy. There's lots of places in just a couple of streets, very lively. But Dalston is very cool. Again, I'm biased, East London. Lots of sort of speakeasies, little jazz bars and all sorts of stuff going on there till the wee hours of the morning. You can go to South London. Brixton's a great neighbourhood. It's the birthplace of David Bowie. So you've got what is now, since he died, the famous artwork on the wall, which is quite near the tube station. It's traditionally, and still is, heavily Caribbean influenced in terms of the food, the heritage of many people who lived there. Also, Electric Avenue, the reggae song by Eddie Grant, which I'm not going to sing because my reggae renditions are obviously very accurate, and I don't want Alex to have like some kind of record label coming down on him over YouTube monetization. So I won't sing it, but a song called Electric Avenue. Electric Avenue is in Brixton, so that song was about Brixton. There was also a Clash song about Brixton, but Brixton's still got its soul. It's becoming quite hipster-y. Another area in East London I like, again, good nightlife. Some of it's not safe actually, but generally it's okay, is Hackney. If you're worried about safety, it's a big place, but considering how big London is, it's generally, you know, pretty safe. Yeah, so for me, the charm of London is its diversity of people, food. Every neighbourhood you go to, you can feel like you're in a different country. For example, there's a neighbourhood called Neasden, where the street signs are in Hindi. There's an area right in the south somewhere to the east or west, I can't remember its name, where, you know, there's a humongous Korean community and some amazing Korean food, but it's pretty far out, so if you're only here for a short time, probably not worth doing. But yeah, that's for me the beauty of London, the fact that you could be in the different neighbourhoods in a different country in the world. I mean, generally you look up at the sky and see it's grey and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm in London. Speaking of which, the weather, bit of a stereotype, the rain and the greyness, although it does happen. We get our fair share of all that. April's a funny month. We're in spring. The evenings are staying lighter longer, but schizophrenic, man, which you could probably say London weather is generally anyway. So the general rule of thumb is to plan for all types of weather. So do not be surprised if it snows. Equally, do not be surprised if we have a heat wave. Anything can happen in April, so yeah, bring clothes for all weathers. London is very expensive. Maybe if you're coming from the US, somewhere like LA, it's pretty similar, or New York, but it is an expensive place. Generally, you will need to sell an organ to afford a pint of beer. However, in some ways it's a pretty free city. Museums and art galleries, which are generally in Zone 1, which, so, I'm contradicting my earlier preachings. Generally, the famous art galleries, the Tate Modern, parts of like Natural History Museum, the British Museum, free. There might be some special exhibits that you have to pay for, like temporary exhibits, but generally it's free. So that's an amazing thing that I've never really taken full advantage of. You take it for granted, I think, when you live there. And I suppose if you're going to London for Star Wars Celebration, it would be weird if you weren't a Star Wars fan. So it would make sense to probably go to Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf is the second financial district of the city. The City of London is the main financial district. It's actually a really small area of London. But Canary Wharf is a little bit further out to the east, actually pretty near Excel. It's where a lot of skyscrapers are and big banks and what have you. And they filmed scenes for Rogue One at the tube station there, which mostly didn't make the cut, I think just ended up in trailers, and also some stuff for Andor as well. So that could be worth it. Actually, there's a video on my channel about those locations, so you could check that out if you want more information. And also Andor did shoot in a couple of other areas. The Barbican, I believe, which is actually in the City of London, which is basically a square mile. It's I think historically maybe it's the original part of London. Have to verify that. But again, it's the City of London in terms of being a financial district. So when I say the City of London, I don't mean the city generally of London, just this one area. So Andor did shoot there, and a few other spots I think around London, but generally around the UK. So that could be something that you could do with your time away from Celebration. Again, just plan, always plan. And it's going to be a challenging weekend because there will be tube engineering works, trains being, slower than usual, less services. So more than ever, plan ahead for this particular weekend, especially if you're new. Reach out if you want any other tips, more specifics. But like I said, it's an ever-changing, evolving city. So in terms of bars and restaurants, it's always changing. So best to do your own research in terms of that. But hopefully some of the things I've told you have helped. And don't forget, if you're not coming to Celebration, to watch the live stream on the official Star Wars channel. You might see me, but also obviously mostly watch Alex's channel. And yeah, thanks for having me, Alex and Molly. I hope that wasn't too terrible for you. Didn't really plan that very well, to be honest. I've just been rambling. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm sure that was all wonderful advice. But that's it for our tips and tricks video for Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023. It's almost here. We're going to be in London in a week when this video comes out. So, and then it's just a couple more days away.
Oh, I had one more thought.
Oh, okay.
If you're buying a lightsaber, check and see how that's going to go on your flight. If it'll fit in your bag, if it won't, can you carry it on? Do you have to check it? Lightsabers can be tricky when flying, and sometimes each airline is different about those.
We have been able to fly with them before with no problem. We've even had like blades sticking out of our backpack. They seem to be pretty chill about it. But that was in Anaheim when they know Disneyland has Galaxy's Edge. I do remember early on they were like, "What is this thing sticking out of your backpack?" And I was like, "It's a lightsaber." But yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, okay, now we're done with our tips and tricks.
I think we're done.
I had the whole conclusion done, and you had to jump right back in. We're done with our tips and tricks video for Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023, and now I can't talk. Like you've ruined this vibe.
Have a good time.
Everyone have a great time. We can't wait to hang out and meet all of you, and we'll see you in London in about a week and a half.